Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Perfect Score. My name is Simon and I'm one of Dragonwall Studio team members. Before getting started with this tutorial, let me first introduce you to the characters and the level we will be using today for this video. This beautiful lady standing here is the support character, and the guy over there is one of our enemies, the police officer. This is the level we will be using for this video, and as you can see, it just looks gorgeous and very well crafted. For the level and its fantastic light effects, we must give a big thanks to Harsh, another valuable member of our team. As you may have guessed by the title of this tutorial, we are about to introduce you to what is one of the biggest parts of any combat system, the heat reactions. Let me show you what I mean by that. In a real life scenario, if I will hit you from the front, you will react that way. The same holds true if I hit you from the side. What about if I don't punch you, I rather kick you? Oops. Here we go. Yeah, now it looks a bit more interesting. How did he react in that way? He got a kick from the side and he stepped to the right direction. So this is what we are about to show you. But before getting started, let's go over what you'll need for following this tutorial. All you really need for following along is these three things. One character, optionally two if you want. Then basic animations, for your character at least being able to idle and work. And finally, 4 or more heat reaction animations. I'll tell you later why I said 4 or more. And at least 1 attack animation. If you don't have any character and animations available for whatever reason, just don't worry yet. You can rely on Mixamo, which is a free service provided by Adobe. Here it is. All you have to do is create an account and then log in. Afterwards, you'll be able to download as many characters and animations as you want. If you don't know how to import characters and animations in Unreal Engine from Mixamo, I left a link to a tutorial on how to do it below in the description. Now that you have all you need, let's have a look at how the heat reaction system we built really works. Here we're back in the Perfect Score. Before getting started by deleting the wall code and build again the wall system, I'd like to quickly give you an overview of how the wall process works. Obviously the combat system is not just made up of the heat reaction. There is also the physical animation component, which we're using from Unreal 4.13. And the code that takes care of enabling and disabling physics at the right moment. There is a combo system which takes care of understanding when a combo has to be performed, and so on. It's made up of many other pieces. This video, we have collapsed all the code that is not strictly related to the heat reaction, as that may be part of some future tutorial. As you can see, it's been collapsed in here and in here. The reaction system is mainly divided in 2 parts, based on responsibility, and that is what I was keeping in mind while building this system. The heating character takes care of how the heat is detected. The character being heat is responsible for processing the heat information and calculating how to react to the heat. In this particular scenario, I'm showing you how to use the support character for the heat and the police officer for getting hit. So let's go to the support character blueprint and see what the code looks like. This is the code that takes care of checking for the hits. And it's fairly easy. All it's happening here is that we're checking if a bunch of colliders overlapped with something else. That's all it is. The colliders are placed on different parts of the body. You can have as many colliders if you want a very precise heat reaction. But what we use here is a couple of colliders for the hands, couple for the feet, and couple for the shin. And you can see them in here, placed on the body of the support character. And as you can see in the event graph, we use the on-component begin overlap and on-component end overlap. We cast to the enemy, which at the moment is just the police char, but that's not what you would do probably. You would have a higher class, a parent class, so that you can check against all the enemies and detect not just the police char, but any enemy. Then what we do, we call this macro the match component, in which I pass in three parameters: a reference to the police char, a reference to the collider that it's hitting, and the other component that is being hit, which comes from the event begin overlap. If you look at these inside here, what we are doing is basically we're setting some variables. Then with a capture trace by channel, we're using a while loop. It's actually a custom while loop with some delay, so that it iterates a bit less than a normal loop. We use a capture trace by channel. We hit, basically, whenever we hit something, we break the hit and we check against the opponent mesh. Then, if all this occurs, we call a custom event from the police char, which we created in here. That's where it is. Point damage. And that's where it is. When we call the event, we pass in the only thing we really care about, which is the collider. And now you see the reason why for that. And by the way, keep in mind that the code is still in a workable version. If we go over to the police character blueprint, this is what we do for calculating basically the hit reaction. All we really do is just calculating the mesh right vector of the character, the collider right vector, then normalizing the vectors, which have been set to be these two variables, calculate the dot product of the two, and then check the values. After that, setting this enumeration, which can hold 4 values, forwards, backwards, left and right, based on the values getting from here to the right value. And then we set this variable holding an animation montage to the right one, and then we play it. That's basically all we do. Now the way the dot product works is actually fairly easy. I'll explain it quickly so that you can understand. This is more or less how it works. You give it two vectors as parameters, and if the two vectors are looking opposite to each other, you get -1. If they're looking in the same direction, you get a result of 1. If they're looking perpendicular to each other, you get either -0.5 or 0.5. This is more or less how it works, and that's how we can determine, based on these numbers, if the hit was from forwards, backwards, or if it was either from the right or from the left. I say either from the right or left because actually we can't really make any distinction. It does return a value, the dot product does return a value between -0.5 and 0.5, but it's not actually usable, and you'll see later why. Therefore we have to use also the cross product, which is another function. Now, as I already said, I don't want and I actually can't get into vector maths, so I wouldn't be able to explain you how this works, okay? All I can tell you is that the cross product of these two vectors is going to return a new vector. And if you take the z of this vector, you're gonna get basically a result between -1 and 1, in which being -1 represents being to the left of that vector, and being 1, it represents being on the right. And that's how we're able to define also if we on the right or on the left. So this is how the system works. Now that we understood more or less how everything works together, let's delete all of this and get started.